Under the tree, over the sea, through the air we go. Oh, we know. Under the tree, over the sea, through the air we go. Oh, we know. Over the tree, under the sea, through the air we go. Oh, we know. Under the tree, over the sea, through the air we go. Oh, we know. Under the tree, Welcome to Fairy Awakening 2024, and I am really excited to start this journey with you. I know we've already had a pre-course excitement, and that was really lovely to set the tone, to see how we're all doing, and already see what elements and what aspects are coming through for us. So I've kind of got dressed up for the occasion. And I hope you're really excited as well. We're going to spend the next 7 weeks diving into the realm of fairy and shifting our energy so that we can perceive the fairy realm, so that we can have safe and magical adventures there, that we can create harmony with the fairy realm and in our own lives as well, and be inspired, because the one thing, there's many things the fairies bring, is that magic, beauty and inspiration to life. Fairies do not get bogged down by bills and tax. This is a very human thing. We get very bogged down, and of course we have to deal with our human things, and I'm going to go into that in a second, as it came up in a reading I did for the beginning of the course. Of course we have to deal with our human things, but this is an opportunity to feel more whole, that magical calling in ourselves, that essence that we know is there, that has got so pushed down, maybe since childhood, or maybe there's been knowing or a longing that you feel when you go into some wild and beautiful places, or when you hear certain music, or when you watch a film or see a piece of art and you go, I know that beauty, I know that wisdom, and then we don't support that, we don't have the tools to support that in our life, and we continue and we forget. So this 7 weeks, I really hope, is going to be those tools to bring a supportive, magical fairy relationship to our lives. And I hope that you're as excited as I am. Traditionally, there's an idea that we spend 7 months learning the different aspects of fairy, and we can do that. We can take the content for each week, and then we can, after the course, we can go into that in more depth. We can return to the things we want to go to. We're going to do this for 7 weeks, because I do find that when we have the weekly courses, the momentum that it builds up is really, really beautiful. It's really powerful. Don't worry if you can't do everything that comes up in this next 7 weeks, either on time or at all. Maybe it'll be come back to you in a few weeks or months' time. This is not a test. This is not, oh gosh, I better add this to my busy schedule. This is an invitation. It's an opening. And what I really want to have as the week 1 energy, it's a softening and a gentle connection to our own lives. We don't get the best out of fairy connection by going at it with our alpha brains of like, right, on my to-do list, I'm going to connect with the fairies, I'm going to do this. We are being invited in this week, in this calling, in this course, to find our gentleness, the softening that is required as a layer we're taking off, or several layers we're taking off, to open to that beauty. Now, people in the modern day, they always or often mistake gentleness and softness for weakness. It's not exactly encouraged to be gentle, and that's possibly why the world is as messed up as it is. If we cherished gentleness, I don't think, and went within our hearts, I don't think that breeds of animals and trees would be exterminated at the speed that they are. I think pollution or cruelty would be going on in the same way. But apparently, gentleness is weak. No, actually, there's a real braveness in gentleness. It takes such Because, if we're going into defensive mode or overly active mode, we're putting on the barriers, we're putting on our shields, we're putting on our layers, and therefore we're hiding. We're hiding and we're scared. This course and the connection with Faerie is about actually being vulnerable and truly present with who we are and with the land. And that, my friends, is true power, because hiding behind a shield where we can be tough but cry inside isn't exactly strength, in my mind anyway. Sometimes we need to invoke the warrior. And in this course, the connections that you may have or may work through, it may well bring in the need to be the warrior. For example, if you are going to be connecting with a certain magical space, and then you see that there's danger that space may be being cut down or polluted, or there's an animal guide that's going to come through really strongly for you, and maybe you're being called to protect them. Star agrees. Or give them lunch. Then that is very important and a very important aspect of fairy work. So there is that aspect that comes from our path, but we need to risk that gentleness, that openness, and that vulnerability to have that connection. And I know that that's not always the most popular, cool thing with the world, but it feels exceptionally important, because we connect with the fairy realm with our hearts. We don't see them with our eyes. We don't, but we do sometimes, absolutely, if we are in a space of being chilled out or between the worlds, or as we spoke about before in the live, maybe half asleep or in a meditation or thinking about something completely different, then those little flickers can come through to us. But within that hyper-focused brain, it's very rare that we're going to see anything. We're trying too hard. And so having that gentleness is a way of being open and feeling, we connect with nature with our hearts as well. We don't connect with nature with logic. We can go out and go, that plant is a so-and-so plant, and we can be logical about it, but we need to feel it in our hearts to feel that actual connection. And for those people who do struggle to, because obviously part of this will be going out into nature and just being and feeling and opening our hearts to the land, if you find that a tough thing, and you're like, when I try to meditate or when I try to, find some peace, that I actually end up thinking even more, then you could do something where you're keeping your mind occupied when you go. So maybe you take a sketchbook out there into nature. Maybe you take a notebook out there into nature. So you can do something to keep a bit of your mind occupied while you're observing, because I think observing nature and observing the land and those sacred places is also letting the fairies know, letting the fae know that you're there, that you're a friend of the fae, and that you're there to connect with them. So vulnerability, gentleness, openness is really the true warrior's way. Everything else is just pretense and hiding. And we can argue that and disagree with that. That's absolutely fine. It's just my take that it takes true courage to be in that space of vulnerability and opening. And in this course, I did pull some cards for this as well. For our first week, I'll pull some of the Fairy Oracle every week to kind of give us all a little reading to see how we're all doing. And one thing I wanted to bring in that the cards reminded me of is when people talk about fairies, they often say, airy fairy, like connecting with fairies is that we're obviously up in La La Land and that we're not really in tune with reality. And point one, air's pretty important. Say airy fairy, but without air, we'd all be screwed. And with the element of air is a very important element to work with. I know that's not exactly what people mean, but what could be more grounded, to be fair, than being in nature, being in the land, and truly connecting with the heart of nature? It is actually a path of real grounding. When we're walking around and we're on our phones and we're discussing what was on TV and we're like not, or worrying about a problem, we're not grounded. We're more airy fairy then than we are when we're actually taking note of how the land feels and how we feel in certain places and what we can observe around nature. And yes, sorry, again, if you're struggling to relax, you could do a 5 or 10 minutes a day or a week or twice a week of just being in nature for that time. Maybe go to the same place and just observe what can you see. That might keep your brain occupied. You're not there just meditating, as it were, but you're in a space of observing. Like, do you see a certain insect? Do you see a leaf that's just coming into bloom? Has it Is there a blossom? Is there a fallen leaf? How is the land today? So you could put a timer on your phone and you could just be in that space for 10 minutes and have that as a ritual. Have that as a morning ritual before or after your coffee or tea. And it's really healing. I've done this plenty of times, and it's, point one, very healing for ourselves. It sets us up in the day, sans la drama. But it also makes us so aware of the changes in nature. We become very intimate with the land. Just spending 5 to 10 minutes a day being observant. So, you could sketch, you could write, think about the land, or you could be in observation. If that is helpful for our brains to go to these processes of being more open to the land. Anyway, back to being airy fairy or being grounded. So the path of fairy is pretty grounded, actually. It's it is, of course, all the elements, and of course it is going in between the worlds. But we're going to start this course with our feet firmly on the furry ground. Not the ground is necessarily furry. So this is very important, the grounding, centering, connecting. We are going into this journey very present. We're not trying to escape life by believing in things that are, over there. We are actually trying to have a deeper connection with life. We're trying to have a whole, more full and soulful connection with life. We are engaging with life in a more full and beautiful and powerful way. And that is the fairy way. And it's an ancient way. The fairies have always been there, here, there and here. We're the ones that have changed. I doubt they have changed so much. They've had to adapt and change to our destruction of the land, and to our thickening of the layers that allow us to connect. And even though, what do they say in that thing? Every time you say you don't believe in a fairy or something like that, that one dies. No, not the truth. But the more the collective ignores and forgets, then the connection becomes more distant, more distant, more distant. And it is interesting that you see in times when there is industrial or pollution or chaos in the world, that actually the belief in the fairy realm just comes back up again so strongly. The Victorian images of fairies, whatever we think about them as being a bit, fluffy or idealistic or cutesifying, that's not even a word, fairies, whatever we believe about that, there's some charm to them. There really is. And there's genuine magic, as it were, in that, because there was a part of us and a part of the fairy world that was working to, we needed that. We don't need to be an industrial world. And the part of us that was crying out for that made this fairy revolution at that time. And now, for the last 20 or so years, there's been such a resurgence in fairy interest to the degree there are fairy festivals, there are fairy events, there are fairy magazines, not for children, for adults, for people that, also children of course, but for people that want to connect with fairy. And in these times when we are destroying nature at a rate of absolute horror, there's a part of us crying out for that connection and that remembrance, because that's what this path is. It is a path of remembrance. And so this is grounded. This is possibly the most grounded thing that we can do. And in this week, we're not rushing in 100 miles an hour. We are actually slowing ourselves. We are grounding. We are maybe feeling the connection of our feet. Maybe even give yourself a nice foot massage today, as long as that doesn't, sometimes people don't like feet, then it freaks them out. But maybe like when you're sitting there, really maybe stroke your feet, give yourself a good foot massage this evening, tomorrow morning, because part of this whole week is about connecting to the land, connecting to the earth. Take care of your paws. Because we forget about them. They are very, until we break our ankles or our feet, as I have done a couple of times, we forget that they are, they're there. We just take them for granted. And these, if you can, I know some people have problems with walking, and you don't have to be walking around in this course. You can be seated and connecting with your body, connecting with the land, connecting with the earth, and actually having the plants and the nature in your window box and your balcony. So I've done that for many years when I was living in London, that my nature was literally what I could put on my balcony. And that's one of the most magical spaces I actually had, to be fair. So being grounded and being connected, if you can do that, just do something nice, sort of stroke your legs, massage your feet, maybe stroke the top of your feet and bring that connection to the earth, and respect your paws. They're going to be taking us on journeys between the worlds. You want them to be feeling nice, feeling taken care of, feeling loved, because there is something about when we connect to to our feet, to the land, to the earth, it reminds us of our path. It reminds us of that our feet take us on these journeys, that they are our point of connection to the earth, to Mother Earth, and maybe being more, as we walk and as we observe the land, we can be more aware of our paws on the ground, our bottom on the ground if we're having a sit down, our spine being an extension of the earth. So this is part of the themes of this week. In the sheets, we're obviously going to be looking at different topics over the weeks, and there's a little bit about the history of fairy lore. There's a lot about fairies that we could go into, which would take up a big chunk of time to kind of discuss what are fairies. We possibly won't go into that unless you want to talk about it in the lives in great degree. I would rather you, sort of logically discussing it, though that's always important, that you find something of your heart connection, because it's very human of us and a brilliant skill of humans to go and categorize everything. You are this, you are that, you're this kind of thing, you're a god of this, you're a god. And I think with fairies, yes, there is categories. Yes, there are different types of fairies. There are tree spirits, plant spirits, there are the gnomes of the earth, there are the pixies and the kind of the sylphs of the air. You've got the she, the sort of the warrior she, or the regal she that live in the mounds. You have so many different kinds of fairies. To say that fairies is one thing, as I have always said, is like looking at planet Earth, picking out one animal that you might see. So say you see a elephant. That's the first thing you see of planet Earth, and you say everything on Earth is elephant. That's why saying fairy is just one thing. There's so many different beings that exist. You have the spirits of the water, the spirits of the sacred places, and there'll be different fairies and different beings that will come through to us on these journeys. They'll come through the portal, they'll come through the veils, they'll come and see us. And as we are embarking on this journey, maybe we get the sense of being seen, maybe we get the sense of being watched. And so we won't be going logically, especially not in week one. I think we can bring up topics of sort of history of fairies and kind of how we can see fairies and the reality of fairies, as it were, though I should have even at that word, because of course they are real. But I feel there's almost like a deprogramming needing to happen with us, where we don't overanalyze and we don't go into our logic brain straight away, that we open. And that was such the message that I was getting through for this first week, is it is an opening, it is a gentleness, it is maybe putting that need for us to categorize and work it out to one side for today. We are going to be, week by week, there'll be bits of historical and sort of more logical discussions, but this week is about the gentleness, the opening, and the connection to the land. So I would really invite you to feel your way through this week without maybe worrying about what certain things mean, or trying to analyse a dream or a vision at first. Just accept and be open to the things that come through. Don't worry, I promise you there'll be more historical stuff and more sort of practical and mythological writings and thoughts throughout the 7 weeks. But we are beings of so many layers of information. We are overly informed and we don't have that much sense of connection. And for this path to work for us in a good way, the connection is going to be so much more important, at least as we get started. And so this is the main plan for this week, is different ways of opening, open doorways, putting no pressure on ourselves whatsoever. No pressure. There doesn't have to be any results or I've had this experience, because we'll all have different experiences. We'll all have different paces, different levels, different times when things happen for us. And if we ourselves can feel relaxed, healed, inspired by something, then that is a result enough. So talking of what we would like to do for this week, the cards that I got through, I pulled 3 of the fairy cards. And the first one made me chuckle because it was about grounding. And I'd already worked out that this week should be a gentle invitation, an opening into the fairy realm. We've got Fluff the Fluter. Fluff the Fluter. There we go. I love him. I get this one quite a lot because I am very much someone that also can get caught up in thoughts in their head, in all of the things, and the need to slow down and to ground. The feeling with this one was all about our feet, as I mentioned. That's why I went into the whole foot thing, because we jump into fairy magic with such excitement, with such dizzying. I'm going into this otherworld place, and just as things get very exciting, we end up tripping up. We end up getting lost because we haven't done the grounding first and we haven't been present. And because we are going to open to big energies, we are going to be opening to otherworldly experiences, and they are very seductive. They are very much wanting us to go in and feel that lushness of the magic of the land. And if we are not grounded, then we will end up in some way falling flat on our feet, usually literally, but it could be metaphorically as well. It could be a bit of burnout or feeling all over the place, not feeling focused. And so when we think of fairies, actually, when we think of toadstools, mushrooms, earth, leaves, roots, we're going to start with that energy of grounding and maybe doing a daily grounding exercise to again, you could be just giving a little foot massage in the morning. It could be breathing and feeling those roots from your base of your spine or your feet, kind of feeling every day, like, what are my roots like today? Are they a certain colour, a certain feeling? If I dig them into the earth and receive nourishment, how is it shifting my mood, my energy? Taking care of our pores is going to be something that we are going to be starting with. And I just love that, because it's the total fairy humour as well. We're starting this big course. We're not starting getting lost in the realms. We're starting right here with our body, with our connection, with our sense of groundedness. And the second card I got was the blank card, the fairy guide. And that is going to be part 2 of this week. So, and of course, you can start this today, the blank card, because it is your fairy guide. That's why this card is blank. It is a mirror, a reflection for your fairy guide to come in. And that will be from Thursday this week. That will be the second part. And we'll be looking at meeting and opening to connection with our own fairy guide. And that will go into next week's work as well. So I love that this came up. And there's a blank space for the reflection of your guide, your own path-working companion, the fairy that has come through, the fairy being that has come through to guide you safely into the right spaces, into healing places, telling you where you need to go, sharing adventures with you. And then I love this also, I love all of them. Then once we've looked after our pause and our groundedness, once we've opened that we're going to have an actual personal guide coming through to us, we have Sylvanius, which is such a beautiful card. There we go, such a beautiful card. With the mask of truth and of wisdom and of sacred flight and of sovereignty. You've got the sword there of sovereignty. And masks are just fascinating things. Historically, masks allow us to step in to another space. But I think more importantly, maybe masks allow us to step into a truer aspect of ourselves, because when we put a mask on, people aren't the projections people have always had about you, the things people think, well, this is a Laura, this is a so-and-so, this is who they are. It's what we expect when we see this person. They are gone, they are shifted at the very least, and therefore a truer essence or a different essence can come through. We can enact something that is actually very true within us, but that maybe we don't get the chance to. So we actually could see more clearly by putting on the mask, and then we take it off, we're revealing something about ourselves. So I love this. There is big revelations coming for you guys. Again, no pressure. And also, it doesn't have to be in the 7 weeks. This is a huge path. This is a reconnection. It is healthy, beyond healthy, to connect with the fairy realm, to connect with the other world, because it's like we have chopped off a part of our lives. We have alienated and ostracized a part of our souls, and this is a calling back of that. And therefore there is going to be magic that will happen. There's going to be transformation, alchemy, messages, shifts, healings that come in, because we are taking that step to bring back that sense of wholeness. I love this for the beauty and solemnness and humour of fairies, kind of all in one card here. and the gifts of the fairy world are there for us to explore. So I love that. But first, let us not forget, because these are the fairies that will trip us up if we don't pay attention. So as we go into the fairy world, as we go into this week, we are slowing down. We are looking after our physical form. We are connecting. We are trusting and maybe allowing our hearts to guide us. And you know what our hearts might want? They might want space. They might want time. They might want rest. And our brains are saying, no, you can't have that. Zip. Your heart's giving you the instructions this week. Your heart is guiding you, at least for some of the day. So, yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting against this. If we're going all in here, we're going to be fighting against what's coming up for us all the time. So the gentleness, the opening is happening with us. There'll be lovely work that we'll be doing, creating our altars if we haven't done that already, and creating sacred space to invite the Fae in, and also finding the land out there that is sacred to us and finding those connections in the land. And one thing that is fascinating about that is that different lands will feel different. Different lands will have different connections. Some lands, like a lot of England actually, not all of it, of course, not all of it, but a lot of England is pretty used to fairy connection. It's a very populated little country, and it's used to people historically. Maybe not so much anymore, but there's a passageway there. And I know that in other countries as well, there is also that. There is this knowing of people and a knowing of that connection and remembering. In some countries, there may not be that. So there are countries or places or lands where that resurgence of fairy culture hasn't happened. People aren't paying that much attention. And so you'll go out there and go, hey, to the Fae, and they'll be like, what? They can see us? Like, what? You know, there might be a bit more of a, what's happening? And that's going to be your own personal journey, and what a deep, enriching and rewarding journey that is going to be. So yeah, that's going to be but it might not be an immediate one. It might be like, okay, I'm going to have to like build this trust up, and that'll be for everybody. You know, even if the Fae can see you, doesn't mean they're going to trust you or want to talk to you. They will. They'll know your heart. That's why I feel the gentle and the opening is happening, so they can feel your heart. They can feel your intentions, because the Fae do want to speak to us. Not all of them, but the ones that are coming through the connection, they do want to speak to us. They do want to remember, to re-invoke, to reconnect to that sacred bond and friendship that was there. And the more we are opening to this, and it more, as I've mentioned before, the more it helps to shift the consciousness of other people, and also to maybe how we consider and react to the world around us. So it is a thing about a spiritual and a personal journey, but it's also an ecological one. It's also very much one where if we love that land, we will protect it, and we will be more in tune with it and more working with it. Again, the Fae are used to people. It's only over the last few, 100 years, really, good few hundred years, but you know, which is not that long in the whole history of things, where people have gone away, gone astray. And there's these callings, there's these come back to the wilds. And we are heeding that in this journey. So I was just saying that some places might be quick to connect with you, some places might take a bit longer. But I would go with how you feel in your heart. Is this place somewhere that you want to spend more time in? Is it a place where you would like to build maybe some kind of temple? Doesn't have to be like a physical temple, it could just be an energetic temple, or leave offerings there. We talk about offerings as well, suitable offerings in the course. Just exploring the land and opening to that connection. And that is the theme for this week. And I know I've been talking for a long while about this now, but it's a lovely theme, and it's setting us off on a beautiful and open. I'm seeing it like a circle, and I'm seeing in that circle is a portal that we're walking through into the Fae, but I'm also seeing like a circle is to our hearts, like it's an opening to our hearts, and there's this direct connection to us walking with open hearts to be able to walk through this open portal of Faerie. So yes, that is all for now, I think, because I have been happily chatting about fairies for the last almost 30 minutes. I hope that you will enjoy your first part of the week. There's a meditation, there's some sheets, and there's this. And in the second part of the week, we're going to start connecting with our own fairy guides. You may feel them around you already. It may take a few weeks for them to come in. Absolutely. You may feel like there's more than one. No worries, no need to go, oh my gosh, I'm meant to have this, but I've actually got this. Just really be happy and open to what comes through. And enjoy opening and giving yourself time for softness, for gentleness, and knowing that that actually is your superpower. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Take care and happy connecting. Bye.